There is an age-old textile dyeing technique imported from Indonesia called ikat. But the ikat motifs used in Odisha are very different. Artisans make the pattern on a graph paper, then it is tied on a thread, and these threads are dyed before weaving into any cloth piece. This kind of pattern and handloom is quite popular in Odisha, but people outside are not much aware about it. Here is an IS officer who wants to popularize it and is researching about the patterns used in Odisha Ikat. Let's welcome Ms. Roopa R. Sahoo, who is Secretary to CM Odisha, Commissioner cum Secretary of SC/ST Development, and Member Secretary of Poverty and Human Development Monitoring Agency. She's also doing her PhD on the inspiration behind motif in Ikat. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Pallavi.
You are the Secretary of SC/ST Development, and education is prime focus for the Odisha government, especially for SC and tribal students. So what has been the biggest challenge in that area? Is it a struggle to make, especially the tribals, come forward for such change, or like you have seen they are encouraged and they are coming forward for education and for any other schemes, started by the government?
The desire to get oneself educated or get one's child educated is there. The challenge has always been a challenge of accessibility and availability. Odisha has been a forerunner and still leads the way when it comes to residential education for tribal children. And that has worked as a marvelous solution when it comes to educating tribals, because that gives them a short stay. They are taken care, their amenities, the entitlements, year after year, we have tried to improvise and provide the best of best that can be provided. Which is not just making children come to the classroom and learn, but also taking care of their nutrition, their personality development, making them future ready. Because for 10 years and a little more, they stay for 10 months a year with us. And that is how I believe that if a child is staying from standard 1 to standard 10 and for 10 months every year, then it is this space, this physical space that is going to make him or her the way they grow up to be. And the school and the hostel then become the most significant players in making the person that the tribal child will grow and become the adult. So Odisha has been in the residential education facilities working towards ensuring that children have a safe, secured environment. They are taken care of. They're now also working since the past little more than a decade, that we have adequate extracurricular activities. We encourage sports, we encourage art, we encourage creative writing, whatever the children would like to do, which is beyond the study hours. We take care of their health, we take care of other provisionings which are needed for any child in my own child or our children in homes. So all of that Odisha has been trying to provide in residential education facilities. And this has been the reason why year after year children and families and the tribal community is coming forward to put their children into schools, and education and dropout reduction has been significant when it comes to the tribal communities in Odisha. I would also like to put here that we have near about 6,000 hostels with the department, in which near about 5.5 lakh and little more.
What is the current status? Like, how many tribal students are part of the residential school programs? Can you give me a number?
5.5 lakhs se thoda zyada, little less than 6 lakhs.
Yeah, and you were also telling me earlier when we talked about that Anwesha scheme, through which I guess the Odisha government is kind of mentoring or tutoring students to study in other schools, not the government school. So kindly elaborate on that also, like how it has helped. And
so Anwesha is a scheme where tribal children get to study in the best English medium schools in urban areas. So children who are keen, and we have a process of getting admitted into standard 1. So we start Anwesha from standard 1, and children here are given residential facilities and facility and accommodation, including transport, conveyance, etc. They are admitted into the best English medium school in that urban area. And every year we make a list of schools and the number of seats available where children can be admitted. So once they come into a Anwesha hostel, they stay here, they go to the school, but in the hostel there are tutors who do home learning for them. There is sports facility, there is other extracurricular facility, and of course food and other provisions are there. So this program has been hugely encouraging. You have to see an Anwesha child to believe what this program has done, the confidence in which they speak, the aspiration they have, and the plans they have, and the way they are aware of things. And they also in the same school study with non-tribal, non-residential children, and our students do really good. They would be first, second, third में बच्चे अन्वेषा hostels के तो आते हैं.
Okay.
Each time I go, I ask की class कौन से section में कौन first आया, second आया, and that kind of will and determination you see in them.
Yeah. So although I wasn't going to ask you this, but जैसे अभी आप बता रहे थे कि मैं पूछती हूँ कि क्या हो रहा है क्या. I was seeing a video of yours where you are teaching students. So वो उसके बारे में कि does it happen like हमेशा कि when you go on rounds you take classes also? Yeah, that मतलब those are one time or two time things. मतलब you like teaching. I wanted to ask कि do you like teaching and do you do it often?
I do like teaching, and each time I go on tour, I do visit schools. If I also visit the livelihood programs and all that, but I do visit schools. And in schools, when I go to a classroom, I do really like interacting with students, not just teaching, but interacting with them. And when I meet 9th and 10th students, 10 students, I definitely go. If it is there's a high school in my tour program, then I will definitely interact with the 10th class children. And I have a standard that, if in 9th you have got this, then aspire to get at least, 20 marks more than what you've got in 9th. Because अगर तुम यहाँ तक पहुंच गए, then 10th actually we also invest a lot in children in 9th and 10th for their board exams. So and they do give that faith to me that they will do.
Yeah. So now again coming to some of the initiatives taken by the government, there is an initiative called Samhati to tackle the language challenge faced by the tribal students during school education. So would you like to talk about it, like why it was needed and what all does it include?
So Samhati is multilingual education policy and more when it comes to education, as an initiative of SC/ST department. Multilingual education policy in Odisha was drafted in the year 2014-15. And now NEP also talks about MLE. But MLE is one part of Samhati. Samhati has a much more ambitious endeavor to preserve and protect and propagate tribal languages through education. And we are also coming up with a tribal language and education draft policy for the state, which would be like Samhati Plus. इसमें हम क्या करते हैं? इसमें हम ये करते हैं कि we do bilingual and trilingual dictionaries for as many languages as we can. One. Second, we create content for standard 1, 2, 3, that is the MLE content. कि पहले वो अपनी भाषा में सीखना शुरू करेंगे and then they slowly move into the dominant language. In Samhati Plus, we are trying to also introduce language, the tribal language, as a course module beyond standard 3 till the high school. ताकि ये भाषा, even if it is non-core, non-assessment, still that exposure to the language is there. Samhati also speaks of creating as much literature and resources in the language. We have 21 languages. So 21 में जितने भी resource हम लोग कर सकते हैं, literature generate कर सकते हैं, we should be keeping that for publication later. Because there is, in Odisha, there is an Academy of Tribal Language and Culture, a separate vertical academy, which exclusively works towards preserving and protecting tribal languages and language-related culture. So Samhati is all of that. It is anything and everything towards preserving, protecting tribal languages is our mandate.
Okay. So, ma'am, earlier we were talking about, you only mentioned that the state is working on a separate policy for indigenous education. So it is totally different from these initiatives like Samhati and all. So, is it totally different? And I wanted to ask you, if you are working on this separate policy, so why is it needed? Does NEP include these things, or you think we need it separately?
NEP does inspire us to think about tribal children and education as exclusive and not general. Whatever we do for all children is good, but it may not be complete. It may not be adequate for the tribal child. They would need curated programs, and in Odisha, when we are talking about indigenous education and what we need to do, we're also looking at residential education policy.
Okay.
So we are primarily looking at that because our students don't go back home after 10 to 5 के बाद वो घर नहीं जाते. They stay with us, and as I say, they stay with us 10 months in a year for 10 years. So we definitely should have a policy, a program, a mission, how to then invest in them as individuals, because they will move out of our ecosystem as adults.
Right.
It is not just the classroom that we are looking at when it comes to indigenous education policy that we are in the drafting stage. We're not looking at the classroom only. We're looking at what we will have to do for children beyond the class hours.
So what would be the major focus of that policy? Like, what all things are you going to include? Madam, you are planning, obviously I know it's still in drafting stage. So what are you planning to inculcate?
One major aspect definitely will go into making our students feel proud of their identity and culture. जो विविधता होती है, that diversity is something we are seriously working towards making it as part of our education programs also, because they are tribal because they are unique. They are a tribal group, and Odisha is so proud of the diversities that the tribal heritage and the tribal groups give us in language, in costume, in dance, in song, in practices, all of it. And अगर हम स्कूल में ही उनको नहीं सिखा, उनको वो वातावरण नहीं देंगे कि वो they feel proud about it, then there is no way we could think that it will survive.
Yeah.
They are the Gen X, and they will be the generation which will either decide to carry it forward or drop it and forget about it.
Right.
So that is definitely number one in our agenda. The second is, just as every community comes with certain strengths, it also has certain challenges. I wouldn't say limitations, but challenges. There is a traditional knowledge ecosystem, which is so strong and solid for the tribal child. But there is also a need for them to become future ready, and there are certain skill sets that one has to work towards, because this they may not get when they go back for the 2 months holiday that they go. So that and the terrain, the physical terrain that where they inhabit may not be providing them that exposure. So that is going to be our second year, that we introduce very, very comprehensive and very well defined structured programs around new age skill sets that are required for the future citizens, from coding, tinkering, creative writing, public speaking, and all of that. So that is going to be second. The third definitely is quality education. Improving our learning outcomes is going to be the third.
And ma'am, lastly, I would, apart from education, livelihood is one of the biggest problem, not only in the tribal community, but for the SCs also. So anything new on that front that the department has taken up?
Mukhyamantri Janjati Jivika Mission is a state's own exclusive livelihood program for the tribals. 100% tribals, only for tribals, which is going to work, as per Honorable Chief Minister's direction, on forest economies and regenerative livelihood. Okay. Also on developing micro enterprise in amongst the tribal youth. So that we have started, and the planning is done, and in this month itself, the implementation would be seen in the field. The first phase, 1.5 lakh tribal households, is what we are targeting to double their income through livelihood, input-based livelihood, farm and off-farm activities. And in the other 21 lakh households of this, of the total number of households after 1.5, we are also working in those clusters to put in enablers which would have the support system, create support system, do training, etc. for micro enterprise ho gaya, and sustainable livelihood, regenerative economies, all of that.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Actually, at Indian Masterminds, we have been covering works of IS and IPS officers from Odisha. And I can really say that, especially on education, the Odisha government has really done very, very good. So thank you so much for, being the part of that change. Thank you so much for giving me time for this discussion. I am so glad we could have this time and this conversation. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Pallavi. Great. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
On that note, we conclude our conversation. I am Pallavi, and you are watching Indian Masterminds. To watch more such interviews, subscribe our channel. Thank you.